Hello everybody, it's Lady Shatana and welcome back to another one of my Getting Started with Minecolonies videos. Today we are talking about Fortress, one of my favorite styles, and we'll go through the first few steps of getting those first few buildings down, and then we'll go over a few tips and tricks for continuing on your Fortress journey. So the first thing you want to do is find a place to build. As with any of the colonies in Minecolonies, with Fortress you want something that has a lot of wide open space and has very few mountains. So Fortress needs, as I said, a lot of space. So something like a plains is really good. The snowy tundras and things can also be really good. One of the things that can be very helpful is in most map mods, in particular Journey Map, one of the most popular ones, there is a option called topography that when you take a look at it, it will show you the elevations. So you want something that doesn't have a lot of elevations in a large space, so that can be very, very helpful to you. And it's also quite large. The amount of space taken up is a minimum of 8 by 8 chunks. This is a chunk, and you're going to need at least 8 by 8 to get the main part of the colony in place. So once you found a spot like that, you are ready to go. And again, with all colonies, the first thing you're going to do is make yourself a supply camp or ship, whichever one you do depends on what your preference is and if you have any water nearby. Obviously, if there's no water nearby, you are going for a camp. Now, the recipe for them is quite simple. The supply camp is a set of chests, and any chest will do, in a boat shape, and a ship is a boat, a series of boats in a boat shape. So this is the only block in Minecolonies where you interact with the block directly on the ground. Everything else is going to be done with the builder's wand, which you will be able to see in a moment. So you're going to click on the ground somewhere and you're going to get this wonderful informational screen that you are going to read. You're going to select your style. Now, of course, in this case, we are talking about Fortress, and you're going to select here and you're going to place the supply camp. It's going to bring you up a preview of the camp, so you can take a look at it, and you have this menu where you can move things around, you can move it up, you can move it down, and if you hit escape, you'll actually be able to move and actually take a look around the space where you're putting it. This is the supply camp for Fortress. It is lovely. It is very Fortress-like in how it looks, and it does have to be in a completely flat area. So as with any other camp, you're going to need to remove all of this grass, make sure everything's nice and flat, but it will tell you that if it'll give you errors if it's not correct. So you'd move it around and select where you want it to be. But in this case, I think we're going to go with a supply ship. Same thing, you're going to click that ship on the ground, make sure you have the Fortress style selected, and place your ship. Now the ship does have to be in clear water, and if you take a look down under the water, you'll see these white lines at the edges. And you're going to see where those white lines are going to go down and show you the edges of where, see right there. Now we've got it in a clear space. You'll probably need to take out these like these bits here and make sure it's clear if you wanted it right there, but we're just going to move it over until we're in the clear right there. So the ship itself is not one of the more impressive ships in our fleet, but it's absolutely adorable and I very much like it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to place that. And you do that by clicking on the check mark there, and it will place it. If anything was in the way, it would let you know. So you have placed it and you're good to go. So the big thing with supply camps and ships, make sure you look in every nook and cranny, look in every box, look under all of the things and inside all the things, because we builders have a tendency to put little goodies in all over the place. So make sure you check everything. The first thing you obviously want to do is set your spawn. So right click on the bed and it will just set your spawn there. It comes with some dark oak saplings, which is really handy because Fortress does use a lot of dark oak. So if you're not actually near a dark oak forest, you're going to want to start growing your own because you're going to need a lot of that, as well as a lot of stone brick. So you're going to go through all of the various storages and things like that to find where the town hall block and the build tool are. And as I said, everything else that you build in Minecolonies is going to go through the build tool. You'll never place anything directly on the ground with the block. All right, so we have our tool, we have our nice little supply camp here, and we've started growing some dark oak because we know we're going to need a bunch of it. Let's go and get our colony actually started. So I am in creative just to make things a little bit easier for us and quicker. So let's get to roughly the center of our open space here. Taking a look, we're centered. We're centered-ish. And what you'll do is you're going to right-click on the ground with that build tool. The fortress style has already been selected because that's what you chose for your supply camp. If you changed your mind and you wanted to use a different, like a different ship or something like that, you absolutely can, and then just switch your pack back. And we're going to start with the town hall, because the town hall is the center of everything in your colony. They are always in the fundamentals section, so you're going to select that and you're going to find where it has town hall, and you're going to select that, and it's going to bring you up a preview of your hall. So you're going to move that around to where you think might be a good spot. And again, hitting escape, you'll be able to actually move around and take a look at everything. Hello, Mr. Horsey. So this is the level 1 town hall of the fortress. Not super impressive, but it gets impressive the larger you build it. Now this section right here, where it's got that higher bit, is the front of the town hall. And that's important because you want to decide which way you want your colony to kind of face. Where do you want your main gate to be? If you want your main gate to be looking in that direction, then this would be fine. But if you want it in a different direction, you want to move it. So I'm actually going to move it around so that it's in this direction. And I want to be over a little bit more. And then you want to think about the elevation. So you're going to have to dig some out on one side, and you're going to have to fill some in on another side. So you want to pick a level that you're kind of in the middle. And then take a quick look. The level 1 town hall comes with a number of signs which help you with setting everything up in the fortress colony. And they're just suggestions. You do not have to follow these signs, but they're a really, really good suggestion. And it's kind of keep in mind what you've got going on here, because you're not going to be able to see them again until you actually have this first level built. But what you want to do, you always want to preview at level 5. And as you can see, you've got quite a journey ahead of you to get that level 5 in place, but you can see how big you're going to be. And the other really, really important thing with the fortress is chunks. So as I said earlier, this is a chunk-based style. which is quite unusual, but it means that there's a couple extra steps you need to take that you don't need to take with other styles. So what that is you want to turn on viewing chunks. So you're going to do that by holding F3 and hitting G on your keyboard. Oops, F3 and G. And all of a sudden, all these lines come up. And these are showing you the chunk borders. And we want to align what we've got going on with the chunk borders. And that is going to, it sounds crazy, but it's really going to help us going forward. So you see the blue lines here are the corners, and then the yellow lines. And on our preview, we've got white lines on all the corners. So what we're going to do is we're pretty close to this chunk here. So we're actually going to move things over until they match. So we now have the preview inside those chunk borders, and the town hall takes up 2 chunks by 2 chunks, and when we come over here we see that it's nicely aligned like that. So that's going to be really important. As long as you have this first the first thing placed correctly in the chunks, everything else is going to be easier. Sounds crazy, but I'm completely serious here. So now that we've got that, we can actually, as long as we don't move anything around, we can turn those chunk borders off again. We know things are in the right place. Taking a look at level 1, we've got things, this is going to be where the front of our colony is, and we've taken a quick look at these signs. The builder is the one we want to keep an eye out for. Suggested house, suggested delivery, we won't worry about that quite yet, but these two are pretty important. And then the place barracks here. So these are things we want to remember. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click the check mark, and it's going to be assigned to builder. Because I'm in creative, obviously I have some extra options. Now, one thing I always like to do is, so you're going to be going in and you're going to read this covenant and you're going to agree to it. And one thing I always like to do is go into the settings right away, the new citizens spawning. I'm going to wait for my first citizen to show up, and I'm going to turn that off. The reason why I do that is because I like to only have to worry about one citizen for this first couple of steps of getting things going, because the other ones will just wander around and complain and want to be fed. And I don't want to have to worry about that. So here we go. We've got Keaton has shown up, so I'm going to turn this off. And we're going to get going with just Keaton. Keaton, you have a lot of work ahead of you, my friend. So it is nighttime. Let's go ahead and flip it back to day. Obviously, you're going to go and sleep, but we're just going to cheat here a little bit. And Keaton right now has nothing to do, but he would really like a job. And that job is going to be as a builder, getting things going for us. Now, we saw that there had been a sign telling us that the builder had to go over here somewhere. So what we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to be creating ourselves the builder's hut block, and that is right here. And as you see, I've been into JEI, which is just enough items. This is your best friend with Minecolonies because you can look up recipes for things, and something you definitely want to have. So the builder's hut block is made up with planks on the outside, a door in the middle, and your build tool. You always get your build tool back, and it will take any planks and any door. So you would create one of those and have it in your inventory so that you can build the builder's hut. So again, the builder's hut is in the fundamentals section. Builder's hut right there. And the way that you want to set this up is this is going to butt up against the town hall, and it's going to, you want to take a look at level 5, and this wall part here is actually going to be right in line. But because we can't see where the town hall is, how are we going to make sure that we're lined up correctly? And the way we're going to do that is with those chunk borders again. So we'll turn those back on, F3 and G. And we know that the town hall is going up right along the lines of this chunk. And everything else, everything is chunk based. So we have it, we're lined up there. And if we move one over here, then the builder's hut is now lined up along the chunk border, and it is lined up right on the chunk border there. And this particular one takes up half a chunk. So if you take a look, now that we've moved it right there, the preview of the town hall came back up, and we can see that it's nicely lined up right there. The only thing that's not lined up is the bottom. So we want to make sure that everything lines up even vertically. So we're moving it up right like that. So the floor here now matches the floor here, and we are ready to go. So you see, super important that you have that all lined up, and that's why making sure you're lined up with that first chunk is really important. You can do it without being lined up, but it's much easier if you are. So that is where you place the first building after your town hall. And the level 1 is, again, it's going to have a bunch of signs which are really, really helpful for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place that. And again, it's going to be assigned to builder, and we'll make sure that our first, so you'll read all these informational signs that comes up. Make sure that our first guy is hired in there. It will happen eventually, probably, because you've got automatic hiring is by default, but it's always good to go in and check on that. And then, of course, in the builder's hut, it's going to tell you what resources are required when you have a building on the go. So you have to tell it a building on the go. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to click on build options. It's going to give you the list of the sorts of things you need. So remember when I said we were going to need a lot of dark oak? So make sure that you've collected a bunch before you get started is always a good way to go. It's going to default to its own builder, and we're going to build that building. And then our builder's going to come over in a moment and he'll get started on that. So that's really important. We need to get this builder up. And then with Fortress, I would not always recommend on all of the styles, I wouldn't always recommend building the town hall right away. But Fortress is one of the ones where I actually would, because it is quite small, quite reasonable to build, and it has those guides, and it will help you build everything else. So it's one of the few where I'd say definitely make sure you build that town hall right away. So we're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to just give him all the things that he needs, and Keaton is going to, let's see, we are going to bypass this for now, but you're going to want to go through that if you are not a master of all things Minecraft. And there you go. So Keaton's on the go. He's getting started. And the next thing that we're going to build after that one is probably going to be some sort of housing. So that could be a tavern. It could be a residence. Either one of those will do. A lot of people will go for the tavern right away because that will give you those 4 spots for colonists to live, so it'll house your first 4 people right away, as well as give you the ability to hire visitors. And so that one is so let's go with the tavern because I think it's a good option. That will be the planks around the outside, a barrel in the middle, and a build tool, obviously. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to place it in the corner here. So again, it's going to be in fundamentals, and you're looking for the tavern. And when we take a look, we want to be looking at level 3. So tavern only goes up to level 3, but we want to look at the highest level. Now this section right here is going to go in the corner, and you're going to end up with something like so this one has a basement. It's one of the very few buildings that actually has a basement in Fortress. So that's something to keep in mind. But when we look at this here, we're going to bump this down so we're on the same level. Now in this row of buildings that goes around the town hall, they all have this this section here, which is the for the couriers. They're going to be using that, and it will let me get across to where we need to be. There we are. So they're all going to connect up and actually have just this rail line that goes around, mostly used by couriers later on. But when we've done that, we can see this is all lined up on the one side along the chunk border. This is all lined up on the one side along the chunk border, and same on the front. So this is this building, as well as the residences, are a full chunk by chunk, and they're specifically built to go in the corner of the building here. So what you'll end up with probably is a tavern and 3 residences on the 3 corners here, and then your other buildings in between. So as you can see, having those chunk borders lined up correctly is going to make a big difference when you're lining things up going forward. So, but you have that couple other ways to make sure how you've got things lined up as well if you didn't do that first step of lining things up. So it's okay, you can do it without it, but it's better if you do have it. So we're going to turn those chunk borders off. We're going to go ahead and we're going to place that so it's ready to go. So as soon as he gets this built and that built, then we can move on to this and get our next set of people in. The last thing that is super important with the fortress design is the main gate, which is the barracks. So we're going to go ahead, and the barracks itself, again creating that hut block for the barracks. It does require the research of the university to be built, but we will get to that in a moment. But it's really important to actually get it placed, because you can place things without building them. So as long as it's in place, then we won't accidentally build something else there. But that will be planks on the outside, a block of iron, and the build tool. So we're gonna get it placed, so we don't have to worry about not getting in place later. So this is a military building, and you can just go through the various things. But this one is obviously going to be military, and it's going to be barracks, and this is the regular barracks. There is an alternative version that you can do if you wanted to build more than one, to make things nice and easy. So this, let's get on the outside here. So this hut is going to be, as I said, the main front gate of things. So you want to be looking at level 5. We want to have this sort of in place. Let's get it roughly in the right spot. And when you take a look, it's pretty big. It will actually come out by 3 chunks, and it's really great because it gives you the basis of where your sort of roadway is going to be, and it gives you this really amazing entry and a great big old front gate. So you want to make sure that you get it lined up properly, and it takes up half a chunk from the center on either side. So it takes up a full chunk. And again, when we're taking a look at those chunk borders, you can see that it's right in the center there. And as I said, you can see it takes up 3 whole chunks. And so let's turn those borders back off. and again butted right up against the other building there. And when you take a look at that rail line, you can see it is nicely lined up with the other buildings that you've got on the go, so that really helps you see that it's in the right place. And there you see, here's our beautiful front gate. It's going to be wonderful. And then this, once this is in place, it will help guide you with getting your outside row of buildings in place, because you've got this all set up and you know exactly where to line up the backs of your other buildings for lining up everything else. So that's where that goes, and we're going to go ahead and again we're going to just set that in place. So from there, you're just adding buildings, lining them up properly. As I said, you're going to want to probably put residences on the 3 other corners, and you'll go from there. The fortress is such a cool design, and there's people who definitely will sort of fixate on like following these signs, and once you're done, it's like, well, I don't know where to place anything else. Well, you place it wherever you want. It is a connected style, but there definitely is room for however you want to do it. You can make it as big or as small as you want. You can have the main fortress area and then build a different style on the outside. There's all kinds of things you can do. But that is the very basics of getting those first few buildings in and how to get them lined up correctly so that it will be easier for you with all of your other lineups going forward. And what you're going to end up with is something like this. And so you've got this wonderful grand set of gates and this amazing wall and these fantastic buildings. And then once you've got things in place, I mean, you could plant trees all on the inside here. You could do a grand road and walkway. You can do whatever you want. There's so much that you can do. I just threw buildings in at random. You can, do districts. A lot of people will do districts of all kinds of buildings of the same type all in one area. You want to make sure that you're putting in guard towers because people want to have guard towers near them. But you do what you want. You do what makes you happy. And there is room to even combine things with other designs. Like there are some designs that have, guard towers that you could actually place towers in the center of these areas and work around them. So there's lots of things you can do. And then here I've got these gates, which are in the build tool. They're in the walls area. So walls is a big thing here. Yeah, so look through all the menus, see what you have available to you. But I built these gates with the intention of building like another kind of district out on this side of things. And you don't have to keep it square. You can build, say, something out this way, and then build something out that way. And you can do all kinds of things. There is so much that you can customize, even though it is a connected style. So this is kind of what you end up with. Very cool, very imposing, and very safe and secure. The barbarians do not have an easy time getting through these walls, and you find that your guards, when you put guard stations along the walls and all connected, they will actually, you can set up patrols along here. It's really, really great. So that is the basics of Fortress. And what you can do with it and how it's all going to go together. And I really hope that it is helpful to you on your journey to become the best master of your kingdom possible. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, please do always join us on our Discord for Minecolonies. We've always got people that are happy to answer your questions. And other than that, I hope that you are having a fantastic day and that we see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye!